The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts. This podcast should not be considered a professional news service. The content is for entertainment and informational purposes only. Accuracy and completeness are not guaranteed. We are regular folks having a regular conversation. We hope that you'll join us.
Me and Larry Gibson went to, this is a good story. We went to New York together and we run down, I can't think of his name. He owns Sago. He lived in a suite there in New York City. Wilbur Ross, there's his name.
Wilbur Ross.
So we found out where Wilbur lived. And this was right after Sago happened. And we found out the suite that he lived in, and we went and just knocked on the door and went in and said we had a meeting with him.
Welcome to Appalachian Livin, Almost Heaven, Nearly Hell. My name is Elise Keaton.
I'm Lindsay Reiser.
Lindsay Reiser and Tom Reiser over there on production. And we have a special guest with us today. We have the one and only Maria Gunnoe, and I'm so grateful that you're here. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell us about yourself and how you came to be here with us today.
Well, my name's Maria Gunnoe, of course. I am from Boone County, West Virginia. I've lived here all my life. My grandfather, my father, all of his siblings. I live on family land. We've been here 75 years now. And in the early part of 2000, there was a mountaintop removal site started back behind my home. And it was infuriating. They was blasting, huge blast. It literally it would cover you up with dust. There's no other way I can say it. My kids were sick. I was sick. It was affecting everything in my life. Sometimes there'd be blasts go off at 7 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays. It's like, please, y'all.
Wow.
So it got really intolerable. And then in 2003, we got a substantial rainstorm, and the flooding was worse than anything I had ever seen here in my entire life. There was 2 ponds on this mine site that failed, that literally washed away acres of my land along the sides of the creek. And just about my sidewalk was standing 4 feet out in midair. And when this happened, I was at a loss on what to do. Of course, I called FEMA. I was like, please help. FEMA comes in with $5,000. I'm like, that's an insult. I mean, you can't do nothing with that. I think I paid the prior month's bills with that.
Right.
But really, I felt let alone. It was like, is everybody going through this? Or, I mean, mountaintop removal had happened, but not so close to some of the communities. I had seen it. I had actually stood on it. I'd grown up with it. But it had never been this close to any of the communities. And basically, what I did was I just hit the ground running, learning everything that I could, meeting everyone that I could, run into Larry Gibson, Judy Bonds, Keepers of the Mountain, Coal River Mountain Watch, App Voices, Sierra Club, Greenpeace. I mean, we work with so many organizations, I can't name them all. Mm-hmm. And what I found was a place of people, or a group of people that had the same issues as I did. Mountaintop removal was not only in Boone County, West Virginia, it was a regional problem. Mm-hmm. It was in Virginia, it was in West Virginia, and parts of Tennessee and Kentucky. Kentucky's absolutely tore all to pieces with mountaintop removal. It's horrible. It's no wonder the flooding gets so bad there. I've watched over the years. I've known the people that have fought the permits that are now causing such horrendous flooding in these communities. And I have learned a lot from the elders in the movement to end mountaintop removal. And I have young people come to me now and tell me that I'm their inspiration. Well, this was my inspiration. Larry Gibson and Judy Bonds were badasses.
Yes,
so
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And God bless Mary Lynn Evans. Mary Lynn Evans finally gave Appalachia a face. Her films, The Appalachians, Blood on the Mountain, and Coal Country tells our story. And it does an amazing job of doing it. But what happened over the years is it was moving so fast we didn't count our victories. Our victory was ultimately to do away with what coal was doing to our people. And it was just inhumane. Our water was being poisoned, our air was being poisoned, our land was being destroyed, and the land surrounding our lands was being destroyed. And there was no safe place left. We had to fight. We didn't have a choice. And in that fight, we learned to work together across disagreements. Even some people you would have a lot of people that would have so many problems going on at home that they would get really frustrated in meetings and take it out on other people. And we really had to confront this head on. We really did. Because it was dividing the movement. And our movement to end mountaintop removal had a lot of successes that we never accounted for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Marsh Fork Elementary School was one.
Talk about Marsh Fork Elementary for us.
Marsh Fork Elementary School was in Sundial, which is in Boone County, on the other side of the county from me. This school was built probably close to 50 years ago. And in 2005, I believe it was, in the early part of 2000, they started wanting permits to put a coal silo 400 feet from this school. We fought them on the permits, and it was a huge battle. The DEP wanted the permits to go through, the coal companies wanted the permits to go through, and of course the men that wanted those jobs wanted them permits to go through. So we became the enemies of our own neighbors real quick. And it got vicious. It got very vicious. And the people that was working against us was our neighbors. So it made it very difficult to even exist in your own community. Marsh Fork Elementary School was sort of like, that's where we dug our feet in at, so to speak. That's something we would not give on. We were absolutely, there was hundreds of people locked up over at school. That school, they ended up building a silo. And this silo was 400 feet from the school. The kids were constantly coming home sick. They'd go to school well, they'd be at school for a little bit, and they'd call and say, "Hey, come and get me, I'm sick." Well, there was numerous kids that would come out of this school sick every day. So we literally started accounting for these people, for the kids. And the kids came to us wanting help. The kids and their grandparents come to us, said, "Hey, this ain't right. Our kids are getting sick in this school." So we organized people across the region, literally, to come in and help us with this school, because we had no help from our state leaders. We had no help from anyone. We had each other, and that was all we had. And we helped to organize walks to Washington, D.C. A gentleman by the name of Ed Wiley walked all the way to Washington, D.C. Every step of the way he walked. And he carried a flag that represented the kids at Marsh Fork Elementary School.
I have goosebumps all over hearing that.
Yes. Ed was quite honestly a hero for that school. He really was. And his wife, Debbie, of course, she was his support system through all of it. And he walked to D.C. and talked to Senator Byrd about that school. And things started switching at that point in a big way. And we started, we didn't, let me step out of that one. A young lady came to us with a pillowcase full of pennies. And she was raising money for her school. She wanted to do school. So we started a campaign called Pennies for Promise. This young lady started that campaign.
I love it.
And we took bags, buckets, anything we could find to put something in that had pennies in it. We took all of these pennies to the Capitol and gave them to Joe Manchin and told him to deposit them in the account for that school.
Wow.
So Pennies for Promise started by a young lady that wanted to help raise funding for her own school. And that turned into a campaign to raise funding any way we could to get a new school for those kids. And the thing about it is this school had to be away from this coal silo.
Right.
And not only was there a coal silo, but there was a sludge dam upstream from this school. If that sludge dam would fail, that school would be the first thing to be hit.
Gone, yeah.
Anytime there was high water, there would be school buses sitting outside that school. We wasn't the only people that knew what was going to happen if that dam failed. The people in the school system knew it too, and they turned a blind eye to it and even fought against us. Well, we done some more work and figured out there was students and teachers in that school that had cancer and that had died of cancer. And as we continued to raise money to build our own school, the people in politics and the regulatory agencies fought us every step of the way. And eventually, a gentleman, I can't think of his name right now, there was a gentleman that got a funder that got involved that donated half of the money to build that new school.
How much was the estimated cost to build it?
The estimated cost to build it, I believe, was $5 million, and he donated $2.5 million.
Wow.
But that school stands 10 miles upstream from the mess that the coal industry and the government and politicians built for us to live with. That school's now 10 miles upstream from that, and it's a state-of-the-art school. It has daylighting. It has a library. It has a big library. It has a medical clinic. It has all kinds of access to resources that not only the school kids need, but also the community needs. So it's a beautiful, beautiful school for this community. But that's one of our victories.
That is a victory, yeah.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Was that's a victory that.
And also a highlight of how inept our local politicians are at actually representing the people who they represent and helping with legitimate needs. But my sense has always been from that level of government that to address that need would admit there's a problem. Mm-hmm. And the problem is the coal silo and the slurry pond. And you can't say that. You know, you and I did a lot of work together tangentially, not side by side, because our network was big during the water crisis in 2014 when the chemical leaked into the Elk River. And I just remember that being part of the narrative was don't blame the coal companies. This isn't a coal company issue. It's a chemical industry issue. And the chemical was used in the coal processing plants. So it was like a directive from our governor to not do something. And that always struck me, especially in the role we were in and what we were doing on the ground, because you were part of the Clean Water Hub, and you remember that what was happening on the ground wasn't happening at the government level. It was happening because, like you said, those networks of communities and people who knew each other from the hard work on Marsh Fork and Jen Osha's work in Boone County and that kind of on the ground involvement. And I'm sure that's a theme you've seen throughout your work with this is don't blame them. And if you do, we're not going to have that conversation.
Right. Well, Boone County was one of the last, I'll just say in the water crisis of 2014, 300,000 households lost their water. Mm-hmm. And no, they didn't lose their water. Their water was contaminated.
That's
their
right.
water was poisoning the air inside of their homes. They was told to turn it off and keep it off. Okay, that I firmly believe that really helped to open up people's eyes about how crooked the coal industry is.
Yeah.
And because nobody is that stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think
they're airing it on TV, and everybody's going to do what? Now, wait a minute.
so. Speaking of that, airing it on TV, I spoke in our last podcast, and I hope you see it. I got quite emotional about it. The panel hearing with all of the officials that was televised, and I talked about it from my perspective on the last podcast, what it looked like from the outside on the television, and you did something pretty profound in that situation. Do you mind telling that story for me? Because I'd love to hear it from your perspective.
Well, I'm going to start off by saying I had delivered 38 pallets of water that week. And actually, I think it was 6 days I had delivered.
In the bitter ass cold.
Oh, it was cold.
It was so cold. Yes, ma'am. It was cold, freezing cold.
Sometimes I was hauling water that turned into ice on the trip.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it got real bad. But I had hauled 38 loads of water. And then the local TV stations decided that they was going to have a town hall in the middle of all this. And they brought in the EPA and had the DEP there. And they was a group of quite a few, I guess you could say, government agency people there. And the leader of the Department of Environmental Protection stood up and said that we didn't need the EPA in West Virginia, that they needed to stay in D.C. Well, after I had delivered water for round the clock, I just couldn't sit there and listen to that anymore. So I got up and I went up on stage and I took his water.
Which seems fitting.
Yeah. Oh, it was definitely fitting. And I still don't regret it. They threatened to call law on me. They threatened all kinds of things. And I still don't regret it because that man needed to see just for that quick second what it was like to have a dry mouth.
Yes.
I mean, because I had been delivering to people that hadn't had, this one little girl stands out in my mind. She loved Kool-Aid and she couldn't have no Kool-Aid. And she come out to my truck and she looks and she goes, "You got water?" And she said, "Can I have some?" I said, "Sure." So I'm loading off some water for her and her family. And while I'm loading off the water, this little girl just missed Kool-Aid. She went in the house and was making Kool-Aid. So, I mean, it's when you see so many of your neighbors suffering so horribly, you can't just ignore it. And when you have an opportunity to get up and take the water of the gentleman that took their water or allowed it to happen, you're going to do it. Because that's fundamentally messed up.
Yeah. Well, you said it, and we talked earlier about women in this movement. And when you say you have to do that, I think not everybody in that room can. And I said that from my perspective. I was, watching that live feed on my phone, cooking supper, and you got up and snatched that man's water, and they went to commercial break, and I was jumping up and down in my kitchen. I was like, "That's right, Randy Huffman, you don't get water," And then they came back and they're like, yeah. And so they came back on after the commercial break, and I'm sitting there watching it, and the reporter was like, "Well, I guess we're going to let Miss Gunnoe stay and carry on with the town hall." And I found out later that the folks in the room actually chanted when they tried to pull you out. They said, "Let her stay, let her stay." They solidified the community behind you, as that was a statement on the room's behalf.
Yeah.
And so thank you, because that inspired me as a new, I wasn't a new activist, but I was new in that realm of being really on the front lines. That was the first time I had been personally impacted by an environmental crisis in this state. And I was, like you said, I was lost. I knew there was a community there, but I didn't know where my role was. But when I saw that, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be the person that makes that point. Like, even if your voice shakes, even if you're not sure if you're going to get drug out of that room, if it speaks to your heart, do it. And I think that is a very feminine thing. I think it's a woman thing, that feeling of injustice. I'm not saying men don't also have those feelings, but how we interpret and react to them, I think, is different. And so I just want to say, I've never told you that story, and I want you to know that I'm not the only one that jumped up and down when you did that. And you inspired a whole bunch of activists to stand up and be bold in those moments.
Well, and I've during those times when I was delivering the water, there was a lot of people in my community that threatened to kill me. They threatened me every time I went out, and I just got to where I just let it roll off of me. I mean, it got old. I got tired of hearing it, and it's like you don't have nothing.
You going to keep threatening, or are you going to do something?
Yeah, if you
about
feel
it?
froggy, jump. Come on.
Cheers, y'all.
It's really tough, and when you just said you're fighting the people in your own community. And a lot of the things that you said that you had to endure is a story that just keeps repeating itself, just in different areas. It's happened here. It's happened to us.
I was threatened recently.
Yeah, by people from our own community
who are fighting the same fight that we're fighting.
And it's very confusing to me. When we're supposed to be on the same side, we believe the same things, and then yet we let these. For whatever reason, something happens, and you butt heads. I understand people's personalities clash. People have things going on in their home, and lash out on people. A lot of people need therapy, and they
This is true
don't
too.
get it. But it's just something that is so common that it's getting really old.
Well, and I know I experienced with the mountaintop removal movement, the loss of Larry Gibson was really profound.
It was.
And there was a lot of momentum. You're right. The successes that were happening had a lot to do with Larry and Judy and you and Junior and the folks who were the faces out there holding the signs and walking the walk. What I learned in that moment was there were people who were very loyal to the movement, and there were people who were really loyal to Larry.
Yeah.
And when Larry was gone, the folks who were loyal to Larry were they flailed around. There wasn't really a place for them immediately, or they didn't see a place for them. The movement itself continued and went on, and it adapted and changed and adjusted. And I was the new kid in town who nobody knew and had to earn my chops on that mountain, and earn the respect because I was an outsider as far as anybody knew. But I also, that's when I started to understand not everybody's in it for the same reasons. And so the folks who are doing the work because they're personally impacted, their water is gone, or they are sick because of the contaminants. If they are called to action and join it, they're there for a different reason than people like me who are outside, who are like, well, I have some skills, right? Like I have some knowledge and I can help in this way. And I know some people. We come at it from different ways. And so I've just learned in my activism to kind of understand that, but it doesn't justify bad behavior. It doesn't justify people threatening. And I think for some folks, you're an easy target because you're standing in front of them. And so that angst, you become kind of that lightning rod. And I know you've been a lightning rod for some angst in your days. And how have you kind of handled that? Because I think it's a common experience. What is, as now an emerging elder in our movement, what is your advice on how to deal with that?
Well, I think it was when I would be attacked, I would try to deal with it with a sense of humor. Like, this one guy blocked the gas pumps on me one day. I was almost out of gas. And I'm like, man, get out of my way. Get out of my way.
Don't give me a reason to knock you out.
I was having a bad day anyway. had my daughter in the vehicle with me, and she had been having some hubbub at school over the same thing. She was being harassed at school, bullied at school by coal miners' kids, and she was in high school. High school's rough enough, you know. But anyway, I had her in my vehicle, and we was discussing that back and forth. And lo and behold, one of them literally turns his hind end towards me as I'm pulling in the gas station and will not let me in to get gas. And I just lean out my door. I said, buddy, you can move it or lose it. I said, I got to have gas. It's up to you. And he kind of started laughing. And then he, of course, stepped out of the way. But now when people would jump on my kids, say things to my kids, I'd lose it. I was willing to go to jail over that. Yeah, you know, I mean, my kids was the reason I started this fight.
And they're innocent in this. They don't have an option on what's happening to them, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what brought it all? When that water pollution happened, the people around me, a lot of the people around me was working on quite a few of these mining operations that's around my home. And when it come time to give out water, I didn't turn them down.
Right.
I gave them water. And when I gave them water, you know what the coal company done? They locked up the water room. Yeah. The coal boss called this operation right up the road from me and told the security guard at that operation to lock up the water room. The water room is where they have their water supply for the miners. It's the bottled water that they have for the miners.
So they punished the miners because they accepted water from you?
No. They was keeping their water. They didn't want anyone taking the only water they had. So, and I talked to Jen OSHA, and I was like, Jen, we got real problems. I said, nobody has water. We had miners that had black lung that was on oxygen machines, and we didn't even have distilled water to put in their machines. Every drop of water for miles around us had disappeared. And it was dire straits. We had to do something. So I contacted Jen, and I'm like, Jen, we got to have help. I said, everybody, 300,000 people don't have water. We need all the water we can get. Jen OSHA, bless her heart, got with her networks in Morgantown, in the northern part of the state. And when they brought water in here, it was coming in convoys.
Yes, it was. And it was within 24 hours.
Absolutely,
we were delivering water through the West Virginia Clean Water Hub, led by Jen OSHA, for 2 weeks before the Red Cross said, where do y'all need water?
Yeah.
They came to us and said, where y'all need water? Because they were taking it to the city centers. They were taking water to those places, but they couldn't get it down in here in the hollers. They didn't have any idea how or where. And so I am so proud of the work we did. And Keepers was the financial fiscal sponsor of that because we were the most nimble organization. We had the smallest board. We were the localists.
I don't know, lawyer.
We were the most local.
Smarter than me.
Sure, it sounds good to me.
Sure.
Let's go with that.
And so it ended up in the long term hurting us financially as an organization because we focused so much energy on the clean water work. But I don't regret that because I think it expanded the community in a way that showed it's not about one organization. When we pool our resources, and I've always said this, having worked for FEMA, the most efficient disaster response is the community that's already in place, that already meets the needs of that community. If you give them the resources, they will make sure it gets where it needs to go. And all of the infrastructure and bureaucracy of these bigger organizations eat up so much of those resources with salaries. And so I'm going to pivot a little bit based on, because as soon as I said that, Sierra Club popped into my mind because I know that's a big rub with the Sierra Club. And as involved as they are in our environmental stuff in West Virginia, it's always been a source of contention how they use resources and awards from lawsuits and stuff. Are you willing to talk a little bit about that? Because I think people here think that lawsuits solve problems. Like if you can win a lawsuit and get a bunch of money, your problem is solved. And I know from your experience that that's not always the case. And so if you're willing to chat about that, I'd love to hear it.
I literally was on countless lawsuits to try and change the laws around mountaintop removal to make it illegal to do mountaintop removal. That's what my goal was. And the lawsuits were filed. I was their standing witness. Keep in mind that put my neck directly in the guillotine.
Yes, yes, your face was right there. Yes.
Well, the miners had posters of me in the bathhouse at the coal mines they threw targets at.
No shit.
So it got real bad. But these lawsuits went, for my goodness, probably 11, 12 years, long time. And when it come time to settle the lawsuits, they settled for monetary settlements instead of changing the laws. The laws should have changed.
Yes.
If the laws should have changed, mountaintop removal, or would have changed, mountaintop removal wouldn't be going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I put a lot on the line. I risk a lot because I firmly believed that there was a lot to come from this. We could change laws and stop this. And when it come time to settle, I was literally pushed out of the conversations. And I was made aware real quick that I didn't have a say in the settlement decisions.
Wow.
So and at that point, I was nothing more than a witness, we'll say, in those lawsuits. And had I had a say in them lawsuits, we wouldn't be fighting mountaintop removal permits right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I really do believe that. And I remember, as you're telling this story, I remember being in law school and doing my research on mountaintop removal, and Judge Hayden doing a flyover. A federal judge did a flyover of the mountaintop removal sites and put a moratorium on it, stopped it, and said, this has to stop until we do some analysis. And of course, the industry plowed right through that moratorium and did whatever they did, escalated it until it was rolled back.
Right.
But at the same time, that was a win. That was one of those victory moments to get a federal judge to put a stop to it with a federal court order because he was so impacted by it. So that was around the same time the lawsuits were really, kicking off, and there were multiple pieces of it. And I mean, when I hear you tell that story, I'm like, they used you. That's what it feels like, is they used you.
They did. And I was really busy at the time, so I really didn't need to be going over all these affidavits and
sure.
all these, and that was a lot of work. At least you went to law school.
Yeah, it is. And if you're involved in a lawsuit, even one, it's overwhelming, let alone multiple lawsuits. Absolutely.
And I feel like that my statements were often used in these lawsuits, and my statements basically was about my love for the land.
Yes.
I love the land and the people and the water, and my stories of fishing in places that they wanted to impact, and it was very personal for me, and for them, for the big green organizations, it was just a day in business,
transactional, right?
Yeah. To me, it was very personal, and it even there was some folks here in the community that would make fun of my connection to my land as if it bothered.
Well, I know there's a quote in one of those books of Bob McCluskey, who was an attorney in opposition to you, who I went up against on the Mountain Valley Pipeline. I was on the opposite table with Kevin Thompson against Bob McCluskey on the MVP, and I remember reading the quote where you had talked about how all you wanted was to live in your holler and to, just live peacefully in your holler. And he said something to the effect of, there are plenty of hollers in West Virginia Miss Gunnoe can live in.
Oh my God.
And again, that was another thing that has stuck with me that I read, I don't even know how many years ago. And it's like, how dare you? What gives you the right? You're nobody.
Yeah.
You're absolutely nobody. And I'll tell you this just because I adore you, and I think you'll get a kick out of this. Because I was an attorney, every time I would go into court with him, I'd say, hello, Mr. McCluskey, and he'd say, you can call me Bob. And I never did. And that was kind of my silent protest in a way that
not
was...
Not calling you what you want me to call you.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do what you want me to do because fuck you,
we ain't that
quite
close.
frankly. And
well, I mean... They say it about us, and that's something that blew my mind when And when I was working with the DEP, there's like blowing like 600 feet off the mountain behind me. And I said shit one time. And they all walked off. We don't have to work with you if you're going to use profanity. And I'm like, say what?
Kiss my ass.
Be careful. Don't use profanity away.
Yeah. I'd say
Does that hurt your ears, bro? I'm sorry.
No doubt.
It really bothers me when, I've had these conversations with other men or with men and I use some profanity. They're like, oh, what a mouth. And I'm like, what? I can't say a fucking word? I can't say fuck? Does that bother you? But it's okay for you to say it.
This is why I love my friend Lindsay. She is my Capricorn.
Don't get me started.
Piece here. She will not let you get away with it.
So
when you're dealing with this stuff, sometimes it's necessary to just fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what keeps you connected. It's what keeps you from snatching somebody up by the neck, for God's sake.
Preach.
Oh my God, you have
Preach.
I'm sure you have an idea. I know you have an idea.
To me, it's sort of like a relationship, a domestic relationship, where you have a partner, which side ever, is being mistreated, and then she doesn't like how she's being treated. She says something about it, and you have the other partner going, what, you don't like it all of a sudden? I mean, that's kind of the same
That's
thing.
exactly what it is.
And I have always thought that the coal industry has, we are the abused partner, right? And the coal industry is the abuser. And someone I saw a TikTok where someone was making that also similarity between the Democrats and the Republicans with this whole shutdown. But I have always, because even with the coal strikes, we're like, we're not going to take this anymore. You're treating us like crap. And they're like, oh, well, here's some of this, but we're still going to do whatever we want.
And if you don't toe the line, we're going to make your life hell.
Absolutely.
We're going to lock the water closet. We're going to, make sure that, we're really in charge. And that's the dynamic, I think, that why your work has always inspired me, is because you are a voice who's like, I don't care how big you are. I don't care, how powerful you think you are. To quote Larry, I'm not collateral damage. I am somebody. You don't just get the right to walk over me because you perceive yourself as somehow superior to me.
And expect me to just be like, okay, I'll just move because you would like this over here. No, right. This is my land. I have lived here. My family lives here. There's memories here. There's, my land that I live on. My dad has been here for over 50 years. It's now his land. There's several generations that have grown up here, and the creek is a thing. We all played in the creek. We played in the sand, and I have family that's like, I want my ashes spread over there because that's the happiest they ever were. It means a lot to people, and when people make fun of people being connected to their land, it really fucking pisses me off.
Yeah.
And
it just goes to, we live in a very transit society. Mm-hmm. People, they don't value things such as family connection and land and the, like I've got apple trees on my land that my grandfather planted. I've got peach trees that my grandfather planted. If I go somewhere else, I might starve to death, y'all.
Yeah. That's a generational investment in a place.
Absolutely it is.
And
that's making sure that your future generations.
When you said that, I think
survive.
of ginseng patches too. My family has ginseng patches that are secret, hidden,
and ramps.
They won't tell nobody where they are, and that's for future. That's whether it's medicine or money. And I think I'm going to mention Carol Judy. She was another activist in.
What a human.
What a human. And again, a woman who led, but she was a forest granny. Like, she knew she'd get out of the car and start pointing at things and saying, you do this with it and you can use it for this. And if you prepare it like this, you can eat it like this, or
Goals.
use it as a tea, or and this is this. She showed the bounty. I think that's what Carol did, was she opened our eyes to the bounty that exists in these mountains that isn't coal. And I've said this before, and I love this quote from her, and I think it bears repeating, that when you look at mining and different types of mining, and old mining and punch mining, deep mining versus mountaintop removal, Carol would say, you can cut off my arm and I can still live. You can pull out an organ out of my body or remove a piece of my organ and I can still live. But when you crush my bones, I cannot live. And when you're standing on a pile of rubble that used to be a mountain that has, grass painted on it, you feel that mountain's no longer alive. That's a pile of dead rock.
Graveyard.
Yeah, it's a graveyard, right? And so the women who have stood up and led and continue to teach, you're a grandma now. You have some grandkids. How's that experience?
I have 8.
Oh my gosh, Maria.
What?
Congratulations.
Did you say you have 8 grandchildren?
Yeah.
That's a busy
wow.
Christmas, isn't it?
There's 4 girls. Let me get this right now. Yep, 4 girls. Oh, 5 girls now. I got a set of twins just came.
Oh, fun. How exciting.
Yeah. I've got 5 girls now and 3 boys. And I'm telling you, them girls are something else.
I bet they are.
Oh.
I bet they are.
Almost too much like their mama.
I bet you're having a blast with them, because I know I had my son later in life, and watching things through his eyes is a lot of fun. And so,
I'm so grateful that, my struggle, there's not been an easy day. I'll say there's not been an easy day.
Right.
But when I can go now and enjoy my land with my grandkids, priceless. I do them all over again. Me and my granddaughter go on adventures. The one, she's soon to be 6. We go on adventures real often, and that's her favorite thing. She loves to go on adventures with Mama. I wouldn't trade that for nothing.
That's right.
Fantastic.
And it's that, for me, is what it's all about. I've never lived my life for me. I've lived my life for my kids and my kids' kids. I think that is what we have to focus on. And in order to get anywhere in any kind of activism work, you can't think about yourself. You have to think about the broader picture and the successes that is out there for your kids and your grandkids. What we do will never benefit us. And Larry Gibson's one of the people that told me that.
That's right.
Yeah.
What we do will never benefit us. It'll benefit the next generation.
Plant the trees that you'll never sit under. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's right. Well, and laying that groundwork and teaching those kids, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but I think as I've worked with students over the years, our generation, our generation's kind of the line of global warming wasn't a thing, climate change wasn't a thing until we were like 8, 9, 10 years old.
We had the ozone layer problem in the 80s.
In the 70s, right? There was environmental activism, but the broader conversation about this thing that could drastically impact the globe came about, when we were coming of age. Absolutely. Everybody born after us exists in it. Mm-hmm. They don't have to learn about it or be convinced of it, or they don't have a thought that it doesn't exist. Like, it is a thing for them. And that changes their activism. It changes the conversation, because you don't have to bring them to a point to get them to understand why it's important. They exist in it. I learned that first up on Cayford with kids from California who their entire lives, they were in their 20s, had been in drought.
Yeah.
They had never lived a day in California that wasn't under a water restriction. So when they heard what was happening to the water resources here, they were appalled.
Yeah.
And it was like a light went off in my head. I was like, oh my gosh, this generation is different. And I think you're right. Like, we have followed the leaders in front of us to lay more groundwork for them, and they have the solutions. They have this broader technology and broader understanding, and I have a full heart feeling that it's going to come full circle back to the land. It has to, because that's the only direction it can go. So when you think about the future here, what do you see in terms of what do you envision for your grandkids?
Well, I would like to think that it would get better after 30 years of fighting. But with this current administration, I'm scared to death, y'all.
It's terrifying, yeah.
Scared to death. No regulation, no permit process, no.
Right.
And keep in mind, we lost 2 miners in a week.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You don't reckon it had anything to do with Patrick Morrissey standing up and boasting that West Virginia didn't have regulation and permit processes anymore. You know, I mean, really.
Yeah.
And to me, but what I want is for my grandkids to be able to experience West Virginia the way we have. We have enjoyed these mountains since the day we set foot in them.
That's right.
Yeah.
We've collected food. We've enjoyed swimming in streams that run very clean. Matter of fact, you got in them, you was contaminated.
That's right.
Yeah.
And to be able to gather food, to catch healthy fish, or to go out and gather from the mountains, all of the abundance of food that's in the mountains that people can live off of. I want my grandkids to grow up knowing that. And I want them to grow up knowing that, because there's been many times throughout my life that I've went out into the woods and gathered to add to a meal. Many times.
Yep.
Medicinal plants and roots and vegetables, things that grow in the mountains that absolutely have never been discovered by anyone other than people like my grandfather.
We should have a class, and
My grandfather told me one time, he laughed and he said, "I've forgot more than you'll ever know." And I'm telling you, it's the truth.
I believe it. Yeah, the older you get, the more you're like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hannah Spencer is actually going to come up to visit me this weekend, and she has some of that knowledge. She's an herbalist, and I've always said I want to get her up on my mountain and have her look around. She's coming up to talk about some other stuff and to get the kids together, but that ties into that, like those of us that do have a little piece of land and some resources, like knowing what's on them and really maximizing that. Your food forest, Lindsay's revamping her property down here.
I firmly believe that we don't even have the food that we used to have here in the Appalachian Mountains, and all of the kudzu and the Japanese knotweed and the Bradford pears and the autumn bullshits and
autumn olive,
whatever are not native, and they're crap, and they have taken the place of the real permaculture that used to exist here in the mountains. And my goal is to bring that back, right?
Yes.
I planted a bunch of ramps out here, because I don't see any ramps around anywhere here. It's just been
pawpaws. My sister's
gonna be
propagating the pawpaws this year.
I got pawpaw seeds. So many, I swear, one will come up. I have about an acre and a half, and I want a permaculture food forest where I can just go out and pick my food.
Gather your food, yeah.
The way it used to be, and it not be a whole lot of work. I don't want a victory garden every year. I want a permaculture food forest where every part of the year something is out that I can eat.
That's survival too. I mean, that's
for sure.
That's mountain prepping is what that is.
That's what I want. That's what I want to go back to. I think that's what we firmly need. And the way things are going right now, like honestly, I don't want to be out in public at all.
Maria, the data centers seem to be like the next big threat that's imminent. And I'm just curious do you have any sense of, I don't know very much about them. I know what I hear from people in places that they've happened, and it's not good. Have you heard much about these?
I have heard some about them, and I've worked with a few community members that are just outraged that they're wanting to put these data centers in our communities. And then I look at it like mountaintop removal too, Barry. they'll give it to us because ain't nobody else gonna take it.
That's right.
What it's
Yeah.
all about.
Yeah.
That's
And,
right.
and they know when they come into West Virginia, these industries know, and our government knows too. We don't have the resources to fight these billion-dollar companies.
No, we
And they
don't.
know that's the reason that we get stuck with all this stupid
Yes.
stuff.
Yep.
That's the reason right now I've fought for clean water for 30 years. And in that 30 years, there have been countless communities that their water resources have been poisoned.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's not in West Virginia. That's all over the region. Okay. And at some point, you have to stand together and take on these industries. And really, I think West Virginia has to. We have to.
Absolutely.
Together, we have to defend one another because it's not us against our neighbors. It's us against these industries that's poisoning our water and poisoning our air. You can live without a job. It's proven. We've done it for many years. You can make it without a job, but you cannot make it without clean air and clean water.
Amen.
You
We can
cannot.
find another job. There's other ways to make money. You can bring other industries in, not data centers that will continue to fuck everything up, but there are other ways to bring money into this. And I think a lot of times, as soon as people hear we want to stop the coal mining industry, it has to be preceded with, and we need to bring some other stuff in because, that's everybody's worried about losing their job. Everybody's worried to speak out because they're afraid they're going to lose their job. Everybody's worried of losing their job. It is because they have made us afraid to lose their job. That's how they keep us down. And
Yep.
And you're sick at the same time in a lot of cases. And so,
well, yeah, they beat you down. They beat you down physically and mentally and emotionally. And then they have your neighbors turn on each other. And then it's like you have no time, space, or energy to put towards them because they know that we're fighting each other. We're trying to survive. And they have all the money in the world and they're not even doing anything. It's their lawyers that's doing stuff. They're not doing anything. They're just making directives and telling people to do shit. And and it's just the way that this whole system has been set up, and the poor and the beaten down, the people that have had the terrible childhoods, the people that are being kicked while they're down,
Yep.
they don't care, and yet it still perpetuates, and it's a cycle that just never ends. And I need to know from somebody, does anybody have an idea of how we stop this? Because I'm really getting tired, and I want to just, like, honestly, I feel like screaming out of the top of my lungs right now. And I'm almost like, I'm so pissed off because I've been watching some documentaries and I've been watching some things and watching patterns. I'm undiagnosed. I know I probably have autism. I do have ADHD. But I've been watching these patterns, and the same thing that happened to you in your community happened to me in my community. It's happened to all these other communities. When I talk to other people, they've had these same issues.
Up in East Palestine, when Dustin White and I went up there and we heard their experience after that train derailment, and it was identical to what happened after the water crisis. Like, literally the playbook is identical in how they handle mass disasters. And I think so I want to step back. I know I'm going to reel us back, but I want to say, as you're saying that, when we changed our state motto to open for business, which governor was that under? That was under
Joe Manchin.
Joe Manchin.
Yeah.
My mother, I'll never forget, she was like, oh, he made us sound like a whorehouse.
He did.
And that's exactly what it was. It was, here we are, take full advantage of us. We're going to make it as easy as possible for you to come in here and do business.
But not really.
Right.
Because we did a story. We told our story. Tom told his story about being in with all these political people. You can say the right words for me.
Well, it was like people gathering together to talk about next steps and what's in the future. And solar companies were coming in and talking about, here are opportunities. We can bring this in. Here's where we can do it. Here's what we can do. And they said, well, what is the starting salary on something like that? And it was 20.
This was back in like 2016, 2017. And they were like, what, $15
an hour
starting out.
And the leaders in the room said, that's not good enough.
My husband was working there.
Now the state minimum wage was half of that.
Right. They're not going to raise the minimum wage, but they're not going to allow another industry that will allow double minimum wage to start out, right? Simply because they go against the coal industry. And so they're open for business for anybody like that. But for solar or any other green or whatever, they're not open for business for that.
And they consider that competition.
Right.
Then we're not open for business, and it's
But they have solar panels on their equipment, on their damn coal fields.
Yeah.
They got solar panels on their damn gas wells up there in the gas fields. They use the technology because all they're doing is exploiting us, right? Like, it's not for anybody's benefit but ours. So I want to speak to the politics side of it, because I get asked a lot to run for office, and I get asked a lot at the local level and the state level, and I've always punted the ball because I have a young child, and that's important to me right now, and stepping away from him is not what I want to be doing at this point. He's so much fun right now. I mean, he can carry his own shit around. He, cleans himself for the most part. He can feed himself if he's hungry. Like, he's a lot of damn fun. He's got a great sense of humor. I like him better than all the politicians I see, so I'm going to stick with him for a minute. However, the second part of that is using political capital, and I feel like I do have political capital in this state because I've been able to work in some broad networks. But leveraging that at a strategic time is really key. Because if I leverage that now and try to jump into a state legislature that's full of, I'm a registered independent, and if I jump in there into the pool, I can stand up and scream and state my case, but I'm not going to push anything at that level. Right. Local politics I think we need to start reinvesting in local politics in a hard way as a community, and saying that, like, our county commissions are letting us down. What just happened with that damn bridge in Gary should be highlighted as a failure at every level to meet the basic needs of infrastructure in this country, and to think that we are superior in any way, shape, or form when you can't build a damn bridge after a flood in the richest coal counties in the world is bullshit. And so from the city level to the county level to the state level to the federal level, there are failures all along the way. But being strategic about how you leverage political capital and good candidates who, don't get me wrong, if I ever get the platform, I'll say the shit that needs to be said, but that's not enough. You need the will of a large group of people to change laws. Exactly what you said. Those lawsuits had you in the best position possible you've probably ever been in your life to make some real change. Yeah. And what a letdown that instead it went in a different direction that didn't get the thing done. Now, I talk sometimes about how victories sometimes don't look like you think they will. Like, you think that's your goal, and in the meantime, you're building this other awesome thing over here, and you don't win that, but you get this thing, right? It's not that way with mountaintop removal and the industries in this state. The other thing is, when you have wins, you have to stay on them. Once you knock that bully down, you got to keep kicking him, because if you step away, he's going to get back up and knock the shit out of you. And that's how you have to play in this state. And people may think that sounds barbaric, but I've been around long enough to know it's a bare knuckle fight here. And it has been since early 1900s, 100 years ago, when Mother Jones was talking about this shit.
People act like we're such a civilized society. We've never been civilized. Why are we starting now?
Yeah.
Why y'all trying to tiptoe around shit? We've always been barbaric. Jesus. Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, and I hate to admit it, but over the years, I've had a lot of pent up anger, and that I've had to deal with.
I think that might be some of my problem.
I take a lot of time out for the things that I love.
I was going to say, is that how you deal with it?
Yes, that's absolutely how I deal with it. I'd take time to spend with my kids and my grandkids and my animals and on my land, and that's how I deal with it. When the shit gets too heavy out there, I just go to my holler.
Yeah, go ground.
Yeah, but sometimes people in our own circle make the work so much more difficult.
Amen, sister.
We have to hold each other up. That's so important. I mean, we can't keep tearing one another down. We have to hold one another up,
and not publicly. Like
we are our only support.
Yeah,
nobody else is coming to hold us up,
and nobody's coming to save us either.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's part of what this podcast is about, from my perspective. And we've talked about this. This has never existed in these areas before. We've never had the technology. Got kick-ass internet down here. We don't have that over in my part of Raleigh County.
I don't have clean water, but you know what?
You don't have clean water, but you got rocking internet. So
I can let the world know about it.
To use these tools that we have now that we've never had before. I mean, I think Larry Gibson would be podcasting his ass off every single day.
Yes.
The man, if you had given him a platform like this, he would have had content every single day, all day long, because he understood the importance of getting that message out. Absolutely. And I think that that's what's exciting about this, and how it's when we have people approach us and say, I want to talk about something on your podcast, we're like, it's working. It's actually working, people. There's value in it. And I think we don't have the answers, right? Like we're living it as we're doing it. But decency and respect for one another should be a foundation of what we're doing. We are neighbors.
Yep.
And regardless of where you come from a faith background or a cultural background, that is so important. It doesn't matter where you come from. Your neighbors are as important as your family in so many respects.
I believe that everybody across the state needs to realize when we vote in a politician, that politician's going to be in office when our kids get old. We have to realize that every move we make
is long term.
And I've always, my grandfather, I guess, instilled it in me. I've always tried to work towards improving things in the future. Because to me, that's what you're for. I mean,
right.
You can work all you want to and not improve today, but tomorrow's a new day. And that's what we have to do. Our kids, the West Virginia we love, is at risk.
Without doubt.
It's risk. I mean, I've fought it for 30 years, and I don't think I've ever been in a place like this. We have Donald Trump that's done away with regulations. He wants to do away with all of the federal agencies governing these mine companies and the gas companies. And they just want to turn them loose. And the West Virginia that we know, the region that we know, is a thing of the past unless we can put aside our petty differences and work towards our kids and our grandkids and the future of the people of the state of West Virginia. Now, throughout my 30 years, there have been countless communities that has disappeared from around where I live at. Mm-hmm. Vivian Stockman counted them one time, and we quit counting at 40.
Damn.
Oh, my God.
So that's what's at risk. And when you talk about doing away with these communities, you talk about doing away with a culture of people that is very unique.
Yes.
We can survive some of the we've proven it. We can survive some of the hardest times ever.
That's right.
And it's our job to teach our kids that. We can't teach them that without this place. So that's what's at risk. That's what's really at risk. The culture and the ability to survive no matter what.
I'm so moved by what you just said. Like, I feel like that is a thing that any person, but particularly a candidate, could take to a constituency and say that whatever's happened in the past has happened. Absolutely. What is our common goal from this point forward? Right. Because if we don't identify that we're all working in different directions and for different reasons, and until we can all get on the same page of, at the very least, we need to preserve, and hold on to what we have left here, so that, because when this shit goes down in the rest of the world, and let's say the sea levels rise, those population centers are moving inland. I work in real estate, and I'm telling you, you want to know where real estate's moving and shaking? McDowell County, West Virginia. There are people from all over the damn country that come to McDowell County and are like, well, this ain't so bad. I can come down here and play and feel free, and there's good people and blah, blah, blah. I feel like what you just said is a starting point for a conversation as how do we move forward in this state as a cohesive unit. And I don't think that we're going to flush all that out here. I just want to kind of...
We can't solve all the problems of West Virginia
in 10 minutes.
In an hour with Maria Gunnoe.
But I think if we plant those seeds...
Exactly.
And start opening up that conversation and say, as someone, if you identify as someone who cares about this movement and wants to work within this state, how are you showing up?
Yeah.
How are you showing up in your community? Are you showing up with integrity and intention and with a deliberateness in your actions in a way that moves us forward? Are you showing up with kind of a backhanded, undercutting, well, I see what you're doing, but I did this mentality, which, okay, that's one approach. How are we showing up? And when we show up, how do we treat each other?
Right.
And I think that if we can start to lay some of that groundwork as an organization, and part of that is having hard conversations about accountability and having hard conversations about maybe people who want to be in places aren't the right people to be in the places they're in, right? And that's hard because the people who are the right people aren't always the people who are able to be in those places. So how as a community do we enable the right people to step into the right places? And I think that comes back to community support. Do you need childcare? I saw a lot of really good organizing in Colorado with the undocumented communities out there. I feel like they always provided food and childcare at meetings. That expanded their attendance by, 50%, because if you didn't have to worry about your kids eating and being taken care of, you could be present at a meeting.
Right.
How do we do that within our communities? And it's not recreating the wheel. Like, there are really good examples of this, but I really think because of what you just said, where we are in this moment, we need to get back to some basics, because we're building on a faulty foundation right now. There's just a lot of unsolid ground under us because it's been 30 years. A lot of us have been in this movement for decades.
Yeah.
And there are issues, there are interpersonal issues, there's history, and it's eating us alive.
And there are societal issues as well.
There are societal issues, and as a community, we have to decide if this is worth preserving. How do we get together and preserve it?
Yeah.
And that's a conversation. I'll listen to anybody's, version on how to do that. I'm sorry, I took a lot of time there talking. I got on my soapbox for a minute.
I need you to put it into real words.
Well, your anger is inspiring.
But I'm just very frustrated right now.
Yeah.
I'm very frustrated because I stepped into, I don't know, what do you call it? An activism role? I wanted to get people aware of what's happening here in Wyoming County. And I received hate from every single side. I received it from the coal miners. I received it from the people in the community that are being poisoned. I saw it from the leadership of the community. I saw it from other people that aren't from here, but when I put a video on TikTok, they had to put their 2 cents in about how we just need to leave or start voting blue or blah, blah, blah. And they don't understand all these nuances that have come with being Appalachian. We have voted blue. We voted blue for so long. And I think that's why we voted red this past 20 some years, is because one, people were sick of still feeling like they were not being heard. They thought, well, let me go over here. Is the grass greener? Come to find out, it is not. It's not. they were manipulated into thinking that they had friends of coal and the coal was friends of them. They might be, you might want to be their friend, but no, they're not really your friend. They take what they want from you.
And Crystal Good said, did Cole consent to be anybody's friend?
That's what I was trying to remember. Did Cole consent to be anybody's friend?
I don't remember Cole saying they wanted to be friends with anybody. So.
No, I will unfriend you. Like, my father is dying of black lung right now. My father would go in the mines right now if he could, and he loves it. And so it has nothing to do with hate for the coal miner. And I think people really need to emphasize that and understand that we don't hate the people working for this. We understand that you are in a rock and a hard place, and no pun intended. But things are bad, and you do whatever you can to feed your family, because our families are everything to us, and that's the foundation of everybody's life. And so we have half of a population that thinks if coal goes away, our entire livelihoods go away. My kids are going to starve. Nothing, like, everything is going to be terrible if this happens. Then you have the other people that are just like, it needs to happen because we are dying.
It's unsustainable.
Our land is dying, and we're not going to make it here very much longer. Your kids aren't going to survive off of coal dust.
Right.
They're not. I cannot survive off the coal dust that my father breathed in for however many years. For the first part of my life, he was in the strikes in the 80s, you know, and then we had to move to North Carolina because he couldn't find work.
Right.
And then we come back here because he found a really good job in the 90s, and he worked there until he retired, and now he's slowly suffocating to death. It's not a way to live or die.
No, no. Black lung's a horrible thing.
It is.
And if who's ever looked it in the face, there's nothing like that.
That's why they keep it hidden. Because if you had to stare it in the face and see it, it would break your heart. And
I don't want to keep it hidden, but at the same time, I want to respect my father.
Sure.
But sure. I would.
You haven't you've talked very candidly about his experience in a very respectful way, and I think that that's appropriate. Because it's real. It
is real. And we are dealing with it right now. And we're having to take care of this man that does not want anybody to ever take care of him, you know?
Hard-working, hard-headed men are
very
tough
much
to care
so.
for.
And so I love the coal miners.
Yeah.
But they deserve better.
They absolutely do.
That man that died this week, the two men that died this week, they deserve better.
Yes.
Absolutely they do.
And so that's part of my heart, too, is that all of us deserve such a better life. It doesn't
you
have
look
to be
at the people that benefit from this.
Right.
The people that financially benefit from this. Me and Larry Gibson went to, this is a good story. We went to New York together, and we run down, I can't think of his name. He owns Sago. He lived in a suite there in New York City. Wilbur Ross, there's his name.
Wilbur Ross.
So we found out where Wilbur lived. And this was right after Sago happened. And we found out the suite that he lived in, and we went and just knocked on the door and went in and said we had a meeting with him.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah, and then there's like, well, what do you mean you have a meeting with him? Does he know you have it? Well, I think he knows we have a meeting. Yeah, me and Larry was together, and this was just off of the cuff. We figured out where he lived and went to his house.
And how do you tell you and Larry no? I mean, if I was looking at you, I'd be like, I don't know what's happening right now. But it's like, it's gonna
actually, there's a skit of this in a film called Burning the Future, actually. And there was a big security woman, and it was a woman, and she was like really big, and she comes out and she's like 3 heads taller than me and Larry both. And she's the one marched us out. But I think really what my point is that's where the money goes.
Yeah.
It's not here.
When we walked into that place, I grabbed a hold of a 24-karat gold doorknob.
Yeah. Yeah. That is where the blood, sweat, and tears of our miners are going.
And they get a little
They
pittance.
get pocket change.
Yeah, they get a little pittance of that.
And that's no different than it was 100 years ago.
Yeah. So, here, one of our last guests, this is our third episode that we've recorded and we haven't put out yet. We're going to start season 2. And you're one of the main characters of season 2. So, one of our hosts or guests gave us some company script.
Derek Bolt brought us some company
Derek Bolt
script. Yeah.
Brought us some company script. And they fought, to not be paid in company script, to be respected, to be treated like human. And so my theory is they did that. They were like, okay, well, here's some real money. Here's some good money. Because they know the rich have realized that if they give the poor a little bit of money, they'll shut up.
Yeah.
They won't
fight
speak.
for it.
And I got to tell you, I've been watching this Epstein documentary, and that's what he did to the ones that
Little bit of money, right?
would not. It was always just a little bit of money, and they always found the ones that were on the wrong side of the tracks or the wrong side of the bay or whatever, and they were had hard lives. They were vulnerable, and they know they ain't got nowhere else to go, and then they would also bully them and be like, I know where you live, I know where you work, and they would move and they'd still be like, I know where you live, I know your work, I know where your kids go, and so they would make them live in fear.
Yeah.
And that's what we are doing now, is living in fear.
But it goes back to this point of this isn't a red and blue issue. This is a money and no money issue. This is a people who have the resources versus those who don't. And you said it, we don't have the resources to fight the billion-dollar companies. I'm an attorney. I'm decent in court. I think I don't have the resources to go and try cases. It takes millions of dollars to get experts, and all of the infrastructure that goes along with that type of representation takes a lot of money, and those resources aren't here, but I also think that we're smarter than them. I think we work harder, and I think we're more committed to what it is, because one thing I know about money is it makes you lazy. When you have an abundance of money, it makes you lazy. And my girlfriend Gail, she's been unemployed, and she said she hadn't filed for unemployment yet because that was her incentive to go back to work. She's like, I'm afraid if I file for unemployment, I might never want to work again. And that resonates with me. Like, I get that. Like, you once your needs are met and you don't have to go out there and hustle, you lose reality, and you lose contact with everyday life and what it's really like to live in it. And so I think that's where our next conversations need to go. Is it's not really about political affiliation anymore.
We got to train, so we have some background sound.
I can't hear it. Yep, we can't hear it at all.
I mean, if you haven't heard the
Our
kid
background
and the dog and 100 other things here, it's
My
fine.
life, we need a studio really, really bad, but you know what? We don't have a lot of money, so we go with what resources we have. And
like Tom said in one of our earlier episodes, women sitting around the kitchen table, you can't really, in Appalachia, that's really where the good stuff gets going, right?
And 10-year-old cell phones.
So I'm going to kind of wrap us up on that note.
Let me now, I've been waiting to ask this question.
And you've been patient.
Okay, and I've been very quiet. So, you're well aware of the way water has been manipulated in this county and in this area. It's been moved around underground and for different reasons, and the focus of most people, a lot of people in this area, is those lawsuits, right? Mm-hmm. And they're under the impression that these lawsuits are going to solve these problems. And recently, one of those lawsuits were thrown out of court not too long ago, specifically from this area. So, what is your advice moving forward? How do you think we ought to be organizing and doing things in this area? And I'll preface that question with, we are working with the United Methodist Church Disaster Relief Fund to get a water buffalo placed in this county. That way we can distribute water to these folks that desperately need the water, right? And, we have got opposition from not only some local government, but mostly from folks that are fighting this fight. Especially with this.
Not helping right. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
that's it.
Basically,
what's she saying?
You're helping. You're just not helping right.
Yeah, we're not We're not.
Well,
doing,
everything that I have ever
do.
done has never been good enough or right. But
Yeah.
I was never been told personally that it wasn't right. It's just been online, passive aggressively. That I'm not doing something properly.
And then right now we're trying to find a place to park this water buffalo, which would have been solved had folks not lashed out against my wife because of personal reasons.
Oh, wow.
And she had a grant of $5,000 that we were going to put together, a shelter for this buffalo to keep it out of the weather and everything.
Because that's the last thing that we need.
Everything that they require, right, to release this water buffalo. And so she has stepped back out of that grant because of these issues and the fact that they are trying to cancel her for personal reasons.
I got canceled.
She actually lost the grant. I mean, as a matter of fact, they pulled the grant from her. But to her credit, her response was, find somebody else to give it to. It's not about...
I gave names of people that have been working with me, and I said, I just don't want to work with these people ever again.
It still needs to be done, right?
This still needs to be taken care of, and if you still want to help these people, send it over to them. But you know how grants are, know. And so it was up to them. He was like, that's ultimately my decision, but I talked to him for a good hour on all the people that I felt that would benefit from it.
And long story short, I think you came out ahead, but I like your question about, you have a lot of experience in dealing with this kind of stuff. And
is lawsuit the right direction, or should we be looking for other solutions?
I think lawsuits, and I can't say that all of the lawsuits were awful and did nothing. I do think they was effective in some areas, like getting the coal companies to sort of just pay attention to what they're doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes it does have its implications that sort of improves things, I'll say. But I really think that lawsuits are only, you have to have, I think citizens have to have more of a say in the outcome of those lawsuits. Those lawsuits have to benefit the citizens with clean water, for instance. I mean, there was a $46.5 million settlement in one of these lawsuits. And the citizens, I believe there was a couple of organizations spun up out of that. And the citizens are benefiting in a roundabout kind of way, but most of these citizens still don't have water.
Right. It didn't solve the problem.
They're still battling, trying to drink clean water. And they've won a lawsuit, but there's like a couple of places in the community where they are benefiting from things, or organizations that's bringing them water.
Your point is a good one. What is the goal of the lawsuit? Because lawsuits are usually about you've broken a law or you've committed a negligence or something, and you are going to have to make that person right.
Right.
That's usually the goal of the lawsuit, right?
But what it seems like to me, and I'm not a lawyer, and I've not.
Get out of town.
I've never
You're
been
not
a
lawyer.
I know, right?
Oh my God, I didn't know.
I know. I seem so smart. I know. But what it seems like to me is that you have a class action lawsuit, and you got a group of people, and they get a bunch of money. They don't divvy that money out equally amongst the people. They give it to an entity who then decides what they feel is proper for those people.
Right.
And then the entity was not affected, correct?
Well, it depends. I mean, that's what happened with the opioid lawsuit, for example. They had set up a 501c3 with specific directives on how to spend that money, and the counties then ignored it and did whatever the hell they wanted with those disbursements. I chair a community corrections board of directors for Summers and Monroe County, and took the county to task and said, where is that expenditure in this memorandum of understanding, how this money, because again, that money was intended very specifically for treatment and addressing the opioid issue in this state, and they ignored that directive. So who holds them accountable? There isn't an entity to hold them accountable. And so it's, okay, we could sue them and then what, claw back money from the county?
Another lawsuit?
Right.
To get the money that we've already won from a lawsuit?
Right. What, Maria?
One of the lawsuits, the big one, $46.5 million, there was actually I guess you'd call it a rule of some sort, that said that none of that money could be given to any organization or individual that had ever been anti-coal.
Oh my God.
Right?
How are you gonna enforce that? How do you even know you're anti-coal? Is it like tattooed on your head, or like what are the distinguishing characteristics of an anti-coal person?
You're a tree hugger. Do you not know this? You're a tree hugger.
Does it because I love my land?
My ears. When that hit on my ears, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" Because that cuts out everybody. I wasn't the only person on these lawsuits.
Right.
Okay. There was other people on them lawsuits. And they filed for the same reasons I did. They wanted to see real change. They wanted to see real protections. And nothing.
It just seems like
than the money off those lawsuits, and nothing has ever come back to our communities.
That's true. And I'm not saying lawyers shouldn't get paid for what they do, but the lawyer's take of the lawsuits is often significant as well. And that's, what allows them to continue to do the big lawsuits. And I get that. But at the same time, it just feels really unjust because, again, it's like they use the most impacted people to win these lawsuits. And then those folks don't see, from the water crisis, I got a check for a couple $100 or something. And I was like, okay. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I spent at least that much running, water around to people and stuff. But I think lawsuits can be effective as a strategic the Mountain Valley Pipeline is a good example. That held up the process and them long enough that the environmental stuff could come back, right? So it wasn't just a free-for-all. They were being held up to a large enough extent that they could come back and say, no, you're messing this up. You got to fix this. You got to deal with this, right?
Buying time.
Right. So it took them 10 years instead of 2. Yeah. I consider that a win. It doubled the price of the project. It absolutely, we tried to kill it. We couldn't. We did the best we could, and making it a better pipeline.
Yeah.
And costing them money, right? So I feel like there are ways to use different strategies, and the lawsuit is part of that, but it's never going to be the full-on solution unless the lawsuit is to shut down the coal industry and bring in 5 new industries. Right. That's the only full-on solution. Patrick Morrisey, I think, will go down in history as one of the most devastating governors to our state. I really feel like I've always felt like, because he came around in, I think, Secretary of State's office or attorney. Well, he was something first.
Attorney General.
Attorney General. When I was chairing the Mountain Party. And I remember there being a big stink about him still having a residence in New Jersey. Like, he still had his permanent residence in New Jersey, and he was the Attorney General here. That's when the red flag went up for me, and I realized this person is a plant. he is someone who was chosen to come and be here
From Jersey
and play this role and pave the way for what the industry is planning to do to this place. And I agree with you 1,000%. Our West Virginia, as we know it, is at stake. And
Absolutely.
I think that, again, almost heaven, nearly hell, we live in this paradox of we got all these a national park. We have one national park and all of these state parks. And then we have all of this desire to just wholeheartedly turn it into an industrial realm. I know that we're going to coalesce as a community. I know we're going to do it. I don't know what it looks like, and I don't know exactly how.
and there'll be some growing pains for sure.
I think, and I think that, but I also feel like the time is now. We can't wait any longer, and I know West Virginia can't wait. That campaign, I think it's aptly named because it's really true. Like, we're at this precipice where there are so many things at stake. Would you ever run for office?
I have thought about it. I've run so much now, I've just about run my legs off.
That is the total
Well, that's why you got them grain girls carry you around. You just have them wheel you around everywhere, and they'll be fine.
That's the most Appalachian response.
I've got a tremendous network. The work that I've done over the years has just gave me a network that just blows my mind sometimes. I've thought about going into office, but I'm sort of like you, Elise. In this madness, it'll be hard for anybody to step up.
Absolutely.
And for the people that are brave enough to step up, and step up for the right reasons, we'll say.
Right.
We've got to get behind the people that are stepping up in a way that they feel supported instead of attacking people and tearing people down. You probably knew Jesse Johnson.
Absolutely. And I think that Jesse Johnson had a lot of great love for this state.
Absolutely.
I think he was a statesman in that sense. But I also feel like he wanted more. He needed more support. He needed to be supported by the community in a way the community couldn't support him. And part of the reason, from my perspective, and I worked closely with Jesse on the Mountain Party, from my perspective, part of that reason was he wanted recognition as well as support. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's a bad thing, right? I don't think that's a bad thing in general, but when you have people who are doing it because they don't have clean water, and then they perceive someone like Jesse as stepping in who has plenty of everything and wants to be the forefront of it, those tensions are real. And I think that's where it comes back to that foundation is, okay, can we step away from our egos and say we're all working on this together? And I think that was a big problem in this community. I think there were people who were working on this water issue for a long time. And then Lindsay got the smart idea to use technology in a way that hadn't been used before. And she got leveraged to the forefront of this, and it hurt people's feelings. I think people were like, how dare she step out in front and act like this is her issue? That was not her intent.
They attacked us and said we were just trying to make money off
of TikTok, right?
Yeah, we don't even have enough followers to monetize.
It's
okay.
We're in
debt. Yeah, this is expensive equipment.
You know what I mean?
And it's a lot of time, and it's hard, and it's not effort. Easy.
But I think that is part of what causes that friction. I worked with Jesse, and I had a lot of respect for what Jesse wanted to do, but we had an issue come up in the party, and he couldn't see past his own views. And what you said earlier, we have to recognize that if you want those positions, it's not about you. You have to kind of step back and recognize that your people are going to put you there because your values align with theirs. But that doesn't mean it's your choice and you do what you want to do. It means that you represent people and do the best you can for them. It's a very difficult position, and I think people are kind of crazy to want it. If you want the honest to God truth, like it's a hard place to be. And what are your motivations for going in? Is it the lifelong salary and the health care and all that? Is it the really good paycheck with
power?
Is it the power? Is it, what are your reasons for going in? And I think that we've never really asked those questions. And people, the reason the Mountain Party approached me is because I stood up and said something. I was brave enough to stand up and say something in the right moment. And they were like, that's what we need. We need that voice in front. And what I said was, where is your statement on the water crisis? Why are you not putting something in the paper that says, under the Mountain Party, this never would have happened, and here's why? And if you don't get a statement in the newspaper in the next 24 hours, you're useless.
Yeah.
That's what I told Jesse Johnson to his face. And our next meeting, he asked me to chair the party.
Well, and
he knows what he's doing, right? Like, the man understood that's the fire we need in this party. And so I don't know what you were going to say about Jesse, and I'm sorry I kind of co-opted it, but I think that I think that was the direction you were going with it. Is
I was just going to say that when I first got involved, I'll say 2003-ish with the organizations, I'll say. Jesse was one of the first people that I met, and he was running for office at the time, and absolutely there was something from his past. I can't recall what
I remember what it is.
It
was a questionable movie.
Yes.
He had acted in a movie that was, in this state, salacious.
You're right. Well, you would not believe.
A movie? He was in a movie?
Well, it was a sexy movie.
God.
They used it against him and really.
See, these are the things that really drive me crazy. Like, oh my God, he was in a salacious movie. Okay, well, how does he feel about
it's a different world
my
now.
Water being poisoned?
Right, and Jesse was an advocate.
Back, right?
Jesse was a huge advocate.
Well, I think it I'm a I don't want to say I'm a sociologist, but I have a degree in sociology.
I think that by definition makes you a sociologist.
I'm not sure. I feel like I have to have a master's. I'm not sure, right? But my degree is in sociology.
Hey, in today's world, everything's a little fuzzy. Claim it, girl.
Fine, I'm a sociologist.
That's
all right?
right.
I do study people, and I love to watch people in society and the patterns that happen and why things happen the way they do. And I see that our society is changing and moving. And I'm very optimistic about it. I really am, and I'm not as scared. Honestly, I know we have a lot of stuff happening here, but for some reason, I am not as scared as I feel like I maybe should be, or maybe everybody else is, right? And maybe it's just because I just don't care anymore. Like take me, I don't care. I wish the aliens would just come already.
Well, and I think this dynamic helps me be more confident. Like, even if we don't know the answers, I'm sitting here with Maria Gunnoe, and I'm so grateful that I'm here with you, and you're healthy, and you look beautiful, and I'm so grateful, and I know we're going to talk again. I mean, that's the thing is, I know that we're going to...
I'm like, I know we could talk for hours and hours and hours, and I know Elise has to drive all the way home.
Yeah, but I do want to say that, like, I think what we've said is really important, that how we show up and how we support each other, and you're right. People aren't going to run for office if they think they're going to be attacked over things.
That's right.
One of the reasons early on is when you're a kid and you drink beer when you shouldn't, or you smoke pot when it was illegal, or you did these things that you were raised to believe that these were career killers, that you can't ever do these
How
things.
Many times in college did I say, I'm never going to be running to be a politician?
Exactly.
I just know it. But that's why I put a lot of my past on the podcast already, because if for whatever reason, because I don't think I would ever run for office, because I don't want it either. But for whatever reason, if somebody wants to throw my past up, I put it out there. You already know what happened.
Right. And I think that's where we need to get as a community, is who you are now matters.
Mm-hmm.
How you got here is your path. If you show up and you're ready and willing and with the right intent, I think as a community, if we can get behind that, I don't know how to address the jealousy problems. I don't know how to address, other than to just name them and say that, like,
people are often jealous of the things that I've done over the years, and I would give anything if somebody could take it.
I know, right? That's what I don't understand, is people have been like, oh, well, you doing this for this. I'm like, honestly, I really don't want to.
I'd much
Honestly,
rather not
I'd rather not speak to you. I'd rather not haul water. I'd rather not do any of this. But my heart and my soul is telling me that I need to go and do this. And then you're going to shit on me for it. I'm not going to have it. And so therefore, I'm stepping away.
One of the quickest ways to lose friends is to have a victory, unfortunately. It's like,
so true.
We work towards this.
Well, that's how you find out who your real friends are.
You're right.
That's
you
true.
know, a lot of people have shown their true colors here in the past few years. And I got to say, I've let go of a lot of people. But man, I have found a lot of really way more awesome people. And I think that's something that a lot of us have been doing. We've been shedding these dead weight people that I know I have. Anyway,
I have 2 ex-husbands. I've shed a lot in my life. Like there's dead weight all around that I try to get rid of. I got a third one if anybody wants.
Some of us still have dead weight running around.
Life's getting boring.
But I think I'm hopeful.
I'm really hopeful, and I don't know why I feel not this sense of panic like I used to feel.
I hope this has been cathartic. I hope the podcast and like seeing that there is a broad community out there that cares. They're interested in having these conversations. One of the finest compliments we've had on the podcast is it's like listening to your older cousins at the family reunion talk on the back porch. And you don't really know what they're talking about, but it's interesting. So you you keep it on and you kind of listen to it. That's a huge compliment because I think that's where the most authentic handing down knowledge comes from, is from eavesdropping on your elders talking about stuff.
Yep.
And I don't feel like an elder, but I know I work with a lot of younger people, and I know that they, when they talk to me like I used to talk to Larry, I have those come full circle moments, and I know I'm in the right place doing the right thing, because I am one of those seeds he planted all those years ago, and I have now planted my own little seedlings, hopefully, and that will continue to grow. And you've done the same thing on a massive level. And so I'm so proud to stand by your side in this state. I feel like you are one of our leaders who, if you ever did run for office, I'd campaign like hell for you.
Heck yeah.
And I know that if I ever ran for office, you'd campaign like hell for me too.
Absolutely, I would.
And I am so unbelievably grateful to know Jen Osha is another one. I could sit here and name the women in our state who will show up, they will back you up, and they're there for all the right reasons.
Well, and they'll hold you up, they'll back you up, they will prop you up, just whatever it takes.
Absolutely.
And that's how we built the movement to end mountaintop removal.
Yep.
We held each other up.
Mm-hmm.
There was days we couldn't hold ourselves.
I believe it.
I've had people in the movement to look at me and go, "We ain't got time to cry. Come on, let's go."
Yeah.
Literally,
Yes.
and that sounded kind of rude and bold at the time, but she was exactly right. We didn't have time to cry.
Yeah, you cry later.
That sounds like a Judy Bonds state. Did Judy Bonds tell you that? I don't know. She seems.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
But that is also an Appalachian thing. It's like, look, we'll cry later, but we're going to get through this right now, and then we'll break down later.
And I think it's okay to break down later. And I do want to say that, like, it is emotional, and it's emotionally, it takes a lot out of you. And like you said, at this moment, after 30 years, you feel like we're at the worst point we've ever been. And I feel the same way. Like, after all this work, I feel like we're at a really vulnerable point as a state. But I also know that we are badasses, and we were raised by badasses, and we were trained by badasses, and we will pull our boots on and put our red bandanas on and get this shit in line.
Hell yeah.
And the people that's going to stand in our way, what the hell are you thinking?
They need to get away. They're going to get out of the way. It's either the easy way or the hard way.
Well, and I think, what are your motivations for being in the way?
Yeah.
That's the other thing is, why are you in the way? And
are you being a shield for us? If so, cool. If not, get the fuck out of the way.
I like that. I really like that. And I'd like to make a meme about that. Like, if you're in my way and you're not my shield, get the fuck out of the way.
Get the fuck out of my way.
I like that a lot. Well, I'll be your shield any day, Maria Gunnoe.
Hell yeah. Thank you for being on. Thank you for talking to us and
sharing you.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like that we all have to say it. We all have to tell ourselves, if you are West Virginia, if you claim to be a mountaineer, then you need to stand with the people of your state.
Yes.
Because
Amen.
if we can't stand together, the industries are going to win. And they're going to leave us less than crumbs.
And they have been.
And they have.
What we've been doing so far is not working. Something's got to give.
Yep.
Something's got to give, and we can't give up because.
So if you're watching this podcast and you feel compelled to jump into this conversation, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
If you have found yourself in the way in a movement, if you've had to step out of the way and say, hey, if it's not me, it's not me. Let's talk about this, because I think we will get stronger the more we, open this up, and holding each other accountable. If I see you, messing up or letting people down, holding you up and saying, listen, this is what's happening. Explain what's going on with you. Are you okay?
Do you need help? Do we need to switch something around and not attacking them for being lazy or not doing good enough? Be like, hey, are you all right?
Yeah.
Is there something that someone else can do to, help
but one
you
thing,
up?
we are not going to stop.
No.
And I look back on the times of the Union Wars.
Yeah.
When these Union Wars happened right outside my window right here. And the people from the communities here helped make that happen.
That's right.
They fed them men, they transported them men, and in some cases women. That when that happened, it took everybody. And everybody did their part. And you know what? Nobody wanted a feather in their hat.
That's right.
They wanted safe working conditions for those miners. And now we want fresh, clean drinking water. We want water that our kids can run and play in. We want air that we can safely breathe.
That's right.
And for some reason, we can't come together as community. We came from the same people that organized the first union in this country.
Yeah.
You're right.
And do it again. And we need to. We need to come together now more than we have ever needed it. And if we don't, our children will pay the price, not us.
Absolutely.
There's your call, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Are you going to answer it?
If we were just asking for better pay and better working conditions 20, 30 years ago, and now we're asking for clean water,
We're going backwards.
we're going backwards. What are we going to ask for next time? To live?
That's exactly right.
So, after that, there's no more asking. They
Right.
got it. We're at
That's
the
right.
last step. So y'all either step up or get out of the way.
Well,
Right.
and as long as we're fighting each other, they're winning.
They are winning, and that's their whole thing, is to divide and conquer. That's the
exactly
whole
what it
thing, is divide and conquer.
And that's what's going on here in this county, is that even the people that are fighting for clean water are fighting against each other.
I remember the first video that I ever put out on TikTok for it. Someone else from the community was commenting about how I shouldn't be helping these people because the people that are doing this are,
It's handled.
well, no.
Oh.
They were saying you need to, the caution.
Oh,
Red
they were
flags.
warning you about
They were
the
warning me about dealing with these people and how they are bullies and, not cool. And I had to learn the hard way twice. And I'll never do it again. And I done told them, I'll never help you again. And I don't care you comment on anything. I'm just ignoring you because you're not worth
But you
my
didn't
energy.
quit. You
I didn't
shifted
quit.
your energy, and I think that's
Absolutely.
important too. Is
And
that
that's the thing.
Not
is-
everybody's going to fit everywhere.
And I had to have somebody tell me that when the man called me and told me, hey, there's people that for the grant. And he said, hey, there's people telling me about a Facebook post or whatever. And I said, okay, whatever. But I told him the story, and he felt the same, was like, yeah, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. And he said, but I have to tell you, when you say, hey, I'm going to step back from this and I'll give it to someone who's going to continue working on this project, that takes more leadership and more strength to do that than to continue to fight that I'm right, and I deserve this. I mean, to me, it just felt.
But that is leadership versus, activism.
It felt also to me be like, these people have made my life a living hell, and if I can say, okay, I don't want nothing else to do with this, then that's it.
That's her Capricorn spin.
You can
on
call
it.
me a leadership, and that's what it turns out to be. But that's just who I am as a person. Every single job I've ever had, they've turned me into a trainer or a leader or a manager. It really got on my nerves. So I was like, I'm just going to build my own business and be my own boss.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I'm going with that.
It's all part of that broader conversation of the angst of doing your best and not getting the support that you need from your community.
Yeah, it's just frustrating.
But you get support
I'm personally
here.
still doing I'm trying to find a place for this water buffalo, right?
Yeah. I'm in a chat group, but I'm trying to
trying to figure this out because one, you're not going to run me off. You're not going to threaten me and scare me, and I'm going to prove to you, because there were allegations that we were just making this water buffalo up.
Yeah,
that I was a liar, and these people deserved a date of when it was going to be in action.
If you help us get a building, you'll be a lot faster.
And all of these things. So
right now we can't just set it out in the cold weather.
So I haven't quit. I'm going to make sure that this happens and that it starts doing good in this community.
You're a better man than I am, Tom Reiser.
Well, I've been pissed off is the thing.
I'm pissed off too, but like he wasn't really around for the first time that I got burned from these people, right?
I was doing my best to stay out of it.
And he was trying the second time. We thought it was, we were going to be all cool, and then it wasn't, and I was like, no more. And he can still continue, but no, I'm moving elsewhere. elsewhere. And I really appreciate you speaking to us. I know we've been trying to get off of here a long time, but I know we can talk to you forever.
Thank you very much. It was an honor meeting you and talking to you.
One thing that I want to say before we leave.
Yes, please.
When we all get down to it, when you get down to the brass tacks of it, some of our best organizing happens in our worst crises.
Yeah.
And that is what we need to do.
I really appreciate that. Yes.
To act like we are in the crisis that we are in.
I really appreciate that, Maria, because you're absolutely right. We shine the best when it's just rubber meets the road. You got no other choice. So here's to continuing this conversation. Here's to finding the good and right people for those places. And thank you so much for all you've done. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us, and thank you for producing all these amazing grandkids and kids, and that people
they
like.
Wait till they meet my grandbabies.
I can't. Oh my God, I can't wait. That's gonna be great. All right, we appreciate you so much, and we're gonna get off here for this evening. So
absolutely, and we'll be back in touch. I appreciate
absolutely
y'all.
Wonderful.
Yes, ma'am.
Always.
Thank you,
Maria.
Maria.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
All right, y'all take.